Hello, Geoff Owen here, and I want to talk to you about what gets in the way of you allowing yourself to speak naturally in front of an audience or a video camera, just like I am right now. What is it that goes on? What stops you? What prevents you just from getting up in front of an audience and talking about your business or talking about whatever it is you want to talk about? It's a curious thing, isn't it? And when I work with people and they first stand in front of the video camera, we have all this stuff that goes on. So this little video is going to talk to you about what is going on, and it's going to give you something you can do or start to do about it. So what is going on? Well, it's all around uncertainty, really. It's very uncertain to me now how you're going to receive this. It's very uncertain when you stand in front of an audience how they're going to receive you. Are they going to like what you say? Are they going to believe you? Do they think you've got anything of worth to deliver? You know, there's all these thoughts we have, and really they are beliefs. Beliefs about ourselves that we're projecting onto the audience, or I'm projecting, or you're projecting to the video camera, to the lens. Now, the thing that creates beliefs are meanings. And it's going to be the meaning that you're giving being in front of the camera or an audience that's going to create your reaction to it. Really, being in front of a camera, there's nothing here except me and the camera and me speaking. That's all there is. Same with an audience. You stand up, you stand in front of the audience are there, and you speak. There's nothing going on until you start putting meaning into what's going on. And that's when things get really tricky. To a human being, uncertainty means the possibility of death. It's the fight and flight thing. And this is chemical. It's binary. It's non-thinking. That's why you get a rush of chemical come through your body, and you have all these physical sensations going on. And it's the old brain, the reptilian brain's response to uncertainty that makes you want to run away or hide or stand and fight your ground. Now, that's all okay if there is an actual threat to your physical survival. However, it being in front of a camera or an audience, there is no actual threat, is there? There isn't. So what's going on is that there is a perceived threat to your physical survival. And that perception comes from not from the event itself, not from the camera or the audience, but the meaning you're giving it, what you're perceiving about the whole event that creates this reaction, which the old brain, which isn't about logic or whether it's real or not, it's just an instinct, it just responds. And that's when the old brain kicks in and starts creating all this stuff going on, when in actual fact there is no threat to our physical survival. That's why it's so odd and takes people so much by surprise. And then what you will start saying is that you have a fear of public speaking, when you don't. You don't have a fear of public speaking. You can't have a fear of public speaking. You think you have a fear of public speaking. And what's going on really is it's the meaning you're giving to the event of public speaking that's creating your fear. And just by grasping that, just by seeing that, by perceiving that, will start to shift your relationship with being in front of a camera and an audience. So here's something you can start to do. Start to notice what you're saying to yourself when you're in front of the camera or an audience. Now, it's a bit difficult because you've got to be in front of an audience to make this happen, but you can do it with a camera. And in fact, I've started to use a camera as a similar kind of physical metaphor for fear that the event of speaking in front of an audience is. It's the same with the camera. It throws up the same insecurities and anxieties. So when you stand in front of this lens like I am now, notice what you're saying to yourself. Notice what you start doing to compensate. I'll give you a list of a couple I'll give you a few things that you might be doing to compensate. You might be trying to get it right. You might be, which is very much connected with survival. You've got to be right. The old brain, the reptilian brain, has to be right about unfamiliar situations in order for it to preserve the life of the form, which is the animal itself. You might be trying to get it right. You might also write down what you're going to say, because that's another bit of certainty. In fact, all your responses will be to get certainty. And that certainty will bring you one thing, and that is relief. So what you're looking for is relief. What you're creating for yourself is relief to the discomfort and the anxiety, which is around the fear, which is what fear is. It creates all this anxiety. It's also helplessness and powerlessness, and feelings like sadness, jealousy, jealousy, envy, even guilt and shame. All these emotions, which I call negative emotions, are very much connected either directly or indirectly with survival. Now, you may not have known that. So all this awareness that I'm talking to you about now will start to ease and disengage your connection to the idea that you have a fear of public speaking. Just that simple thing will start you on your way. So you'll be doing relief activities. Some people will raise their voice as a response because they think they've got to, be this person in front of the audience. Some people will, and that's really dominating them. You might call that fighting, because we're still doing the fight, flight, hide thing, freeze thing. But we do it in a different way, because on another level we know that our life isn't in danger. We know the camera can't kill us. We know that the audience can't kill us. Yet we still have this other stuff going on because of the meaning we're giving to it, which creates the uncertainty. So you might be over delivering your voice, or be very studied in the way you actually deliver, and you'll be very conscious about how you use your hands and how you stand and how you use your vocal range and dexterity, and so forth. And that again is getting you certainty, which gives you relief. You might, as I say, write things down and learn what you're going to say. You might commit it to memory for fear of forgetting, because if you forget, there's going to be more uncertainty. What will the audience think of you? What will you think of yourself? That's another way of getting relief. That's just two things you do. Other ways, you might be very fidgety, moving around and trying to dissipate that kind of discomfort physically in your body. It's going to be very difficult for you to be present because you're actually trying to get away. So there's just 3 ways you might be coping with being in front of a camera or an audience. What you can do is look to be more spontaneous. Now, how do you do that? Well, the structure, if it can be called that, the structure of spontaneity, which is kind of, doesn't really make sense, does it? How can you be spontaneous and then have structure? But the structure is acceptance. So if you can accept that you are going to mess up, you're going to get it wrong, you might look a fool, you might forget. If you can accept the whole experience and start with being in front of the camera, if you can accept, then you're on your road to really being present and authentic. Because to be authentic, you've got to be authentic about your inauthenticities. So if you're not able to accept where you are, you're not being authentic. And simply by the act of accepting, you make yourself authentic. You accept that inside you're terrified. You accept that actually you don't really know quite what you're saying. Do you know what I mean? Instead of trying to hide it. So, get to see that being in front of the camera or an audience isn't where your fear is. It's your relationship with it and the meaning you're giving it. Notice what you do to try and relieve that, what you're saying to yourself, which will be your beliefs, and they can be removed, by the way. You can get rid of your relief. You can get rid of your relief, but you can get rid of your beliefs that's creating all these sensations. And you can then start to accept. And you can play around with this. Get yourself in front of a video camera and just wait. Just get used to the thing turning over and filming you, first of all. And wait. And your temptation will be to only speak to get things right. And you might even speak to fill the space and void. And you might gabble away and get out of sync with your thoughts and feelings about what you're trying to share. If you know what I mean by get out of sync, it's when you start going lots of ums. And you'll deliver a kind of load of stuff, and then there'll be an because what you're saying isn't connected to thought, it's in reaction to the discomfort. And then you need the to buffer, like, when you download something from the internet and there's the buffering thing that goes round and round and round when it's waiting to come online. That's what I think do a lot. Gives us time. We're trying to buy time. Whereas if you can allow yourself to generate the thoughts that create the words, that manifest your communication, then I think you'll find it much easier to be spontaneous. Far easier than you think.